let my son know. I'm so sorry. All right, here we go.
I'll put it. Yeah, we're gonna be. Yep, we are live. We're gonna be live
You
on my YouTube podcast channel and also
oh,
Facebook. So can watch us on Facebook and YouTube. Yep.
all right.
Let me unlock it first on you on Facebook. Some reason I don't know why. I'm gonna put it a public. All right. All right. We are live. Okay. All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Imani Dillard Show. And I am live on my YouTube podcast channel and my Facebook. And I'm connected on my Restream studio. And today I have another special guest. He is one of the best producers and songwriters, Mr. Ronnie Song. Do you go by Mr. Ronnie or just Ronnie?
It doesn't matter. It
It
doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
I feel
Okay. Okay.
pretty ageless. I got some pretty energetic kids who don't let me age too fast. So it doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So today he is on, yeah, so today he is on here. He's going to tell his story, how everything started to become a songwriter and a producer. So first, I want to talk about how was it growing up in Hartford, Connecticut?
hmm it was interesting. It was an
Yeah.
interesting. Hartford is an interesting place. I've been in a lot of different cities. And I
Okay.
traveled different places, but where I grew up is a very interesting place of so much different kinds of history that has affected. I mean, American history. A lot of it's steeped in so much history, but in the black community and where we grew up, and of course, it was a different time. Um, we
Mm-hmm.
were kids who always, I know for me, because I was always criticized for that being this big dreamer. Oh, he has these big dreams. So we had a lot of us who were just trying to do some amazing things. We were starting bands every 5 minutes. I mean, there was a
Okay.
band. There was a band every 3 blocks. There was a band. You know whose band are
Mm-hmm.
you in? And it
Mm-hmm.
was like all these guys. They may even be watching. I don't know, but you got guys like Eddie Brathwaite, Rex, who is the premier Motown review guy in our city, and golly, a guy named Titus Henry. I mean, Timmy Lewis I mean, Ralph Hunt. I mean, we everybody grew up wanting to play in the band. We had, some of them. There's so many band names. I forgot even some of the name of the bands.
Mm-hmm.
For the Sounds of the North End, and it was oh God, see, I forgot. There's so many, and we all dreamed.
Oh, it's
We all
okay.
dreamed. We all dreamed. We all played our favorite music and wanted to be the best that we could be, and what we did, and especially coming out of the church, when you can make it there. It's like Frank Sinatra said, New York, New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Where I come from, playing in
Mm-hmm.
church, you better know how to play.
Oh yeah, they didn't play back
You
then.
can play. You had guys like Hubert Powell. We were growing up, Timmy Johnson, and then Hubert's kids. Who are thrashing it now. You got guys like Billy and Kevin and Doobie, and it's just a culture back there. And even though a lot of the other musicians that we had in church weren't as versatile in the funk and the jazz thing, you had a lot of. I know there's one guy named Joe Lee. He was like one of those conservative, by the book church organists, but you still wanted to be like him. You still wanted to
Mm-hmm.
emulate him. My uncle Stanley Huckabee, actually, to me, he was the legend back in the day. Uh, he was the music director for Mount Calvary, and that's who I learned from. as far as church music. And actually, my recording career started with him. He was the
Mm-hmm.
first one to bring me in as a studio musician to record with him on his records, and him and my aunt Teresa, their group that they had. So dreaming. I even used to go down in the basement with my buddy Earl Mundell, who we're writing songs together now for another project. But Earl, we would be down in the basement spray painting gold records.
Mm-hmm.
We spray paint the gold records and put them on the walls. And I used to say one day that stuff was going to be real. And I kept saying it and
Mm-hmm.
kept dreaming it and dreaming it. And I would do things in the community, and everybody would they smile in my face, but I know behind my back they were saying that idiot, he ain't going nowhere. He dreaming too much. He's dreaming too big.
Mm-hmm.
And so a guy like me, who came from what I came from, to end up with a career like I ended up is pretty amazing. Only because I know my journey and I know my story, you know. And I was working in a hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital, as a in the physical therapy department. And my friend Richard Demaro, who he Earl Mundell and I, we started a publishing company years ago, Omni Three Music, and now it's resurging. That's another story. But I was working with Richie in the hospital. We were just coworkers, and Melba Moore came on the TV show. We brought a patient back up to their room, and I think it was the Hollywood Palace or the Merv Griffin show. I know Merv Griffin was the host. Now I'm telling my age. Uh, but Merv Griffin had Melba Moore on his show when we were up there.
Wow.
So I was looking at we stopped, took a break, and she did her big hit, You Stepped Into My Life, and sitting on the couch being interviewed by Merv Griffin. And then her little daughter, Charlie, who was at the time maybe 2 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I think, she ran out on the set of the on the TV show. It was the cutest thing. And I told Richard, I said, "Give me 2 years, I'll be producing people like Melba Moore." You know, and
Wow.
usually when I say that, people look at me like, "Yeah, whatever, man." But
Mm-hmm.
Richard was like, him and Earl always said, "Yeah, man, you can do it. You're gonna do it. One day you're gonna do it." Those guys would always tell me that. Sure enough,
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, I'm standing in the office of her production company, uh, talking about producing her album, her upcoming album. And
Mm-hmm.
so
What's the name of the album?
it was called Melba Moore, The Other Side of the Rainbow. I think that was the title of the album. I think
Okay.
it's a red cover. She has on a white. I think it's on a white leather outfit or something. I can't. I think that's what it was. But the color of the album. But
Okay.
it was a lot of people on that record, and you had other producers like Kashif, Paul Lawrence, and this is my I would say second record that I did that was on a certain level, because I had just got to producing a group called Xavier that's from Hartford,
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut. Actually, we got a deal with them with EMI Records, and we had the big hit. I don't know if you guys remember. It's called "Work That Sucker to Death." We had
Mm-hmm.
Bootsy and George Clinton on the record with us. So
Wow.
that record,
Awesome.
yeah. So that record is what led the executive Ted Courier at the record label to
Mm-hmm.
call me and involve me in the Melba Moore project. And I'll never forget that he sent me over, just so you know how the career actually got triggered. He I was there. He had called me down to his office to listen to some music, which was surprising to me. And he let me hear the Melba Moore record that they had just finished, which
Mm-hmm.
Chad McFadden and Whitehead
Mm-hmm.
producing. They produced her other big hit, "Pick Me Up, I'll Dance," and "You Stepped Into My Life." So they were producing this record, and he wrote down an address on a piece of paper. He said, "Before you leave New York tomorrow, go to this office."
Mm-hmm.
And Ted Courier, may he rest in peace. He's not with us anymore. But I went over to that office, and sitting in the office was Mr. Charles Huggins, who ended up being my manager for a while, and then Melba Moore walks out the door into the office, and that's where it all started. That's where it all really, really took off for me. And I ended up working
Awesome.
with everybody in the industry from
I
there.
know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And those guys
Reading
were
your
greatly responsible. I mean, Charles and his brother Bo, who was in charge of all the music at the time, and Bo
mm-hmm.
made sure I had to fight. I had to work for it. So, I had a gold, actually a platinum album on Najee, and you would think I would have had the next album. They would have threw it at me, right? But I had to still work for that too. So, but the I forgot the name of the second album, but I ended up producing on that as well. But Bo made sure I stayed busy. Him and
Mm-hmm.
A&R executives, his name was Zach Vass, uh, and these guys called me all times of night, morning, and they kept me working. They kept me busy, and one
Mm-hmm.
project after the other, after the other, after the other, and that was the foundation of connecting to all the big projects, that
Mm-hmm.
I ended up working on.
Reading your bio, I was like, I really, really have to do this interview. I can't wait to have him on my show because you wrote songs for like well-known R&B artists, gospel artists who's living, not living. It's like you wrote for Anita Baker, you wrote for Karen Clark Sheard and Eddie
Well,
Kendricks and yeah.
well, I can let me correct that. I did write for Eddie and David, Eddie Kendrick and David, the
Okay. How
great
you met them? How
Peter
you met
Ruffin.
them?
Anita Baker and Karen Clark and a lot of the other artists. I was not too long ago actually the people who owned the master of "Lift Every Voice and Sing," the version that Melba Moore did on
Mm-hmm.
her album, and she did a video and it had all Bobby Brown, BB and CC, Anita Baker. I was
Mm-hmm.
honored. I was honored 2 Black History Months ago to remaster and re-edit that record with all those artists on that record for a New York
Wow.
Black History Month. So that's how I ended up, having those people in my resume because I actually had to re-edit the entire record and remaster
Mm-hmm.
it nine. So
What was the
and
name of the record?
"Lift Every Voice and Sing"
Lip Every
by,
Voice and Sing.
by
Okay.
the national Black anthem, and
Okay.
Melba actually received an award, some type of major award for that recording. But Eddie and David, that was an interesting thing because I was being represented by Hush Productions at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Mottola, Mariah Carey's ex-husband, he had a label over at RCA. He had a deal with them. He had signed Eddie and David to
Mm-hmm.
a record deal. And I don't know if you remember, they
Mm-hmm.
did the whole thing at the Apollo with Hall and Oates, and it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And, and so they brought me in to produce and write. I wrote a song called "Ordinary Girl" uh, that they ended up recording. It was a great, great record. And I worked with Gene McFadden, I was a childhood, he was like one of my childhood idols after writing all those hits for Harold Melvin and Blue Notes and the OJ's, and so to be honored to work with Gene McFadden on that record with Eddie and David was wonderful. It was another wonderful experience.
Two great
And
legends. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They
And
were
I
two
actually
great
worked.
legends.
I actually had a chance to work with John Oates of Hall and Oates as well. So it was a
Okay.
really fun project's kind of tragic because it's not too long after that we lost David,
Mm-hmm.
and then we lost Eddie to cancer
Mm-hmm.
not long after that.
Yeah.
But the fact that these are guys that I grew up like wishing and dreaming and thinking I would never meet people like that. You grow up thinking that, especially from the neighborhood, especially from
Yeah.
the neighborhood I grew up in, when everything you did, if you said
Yeah.
something big, you would kind of smirk that and like, yeah, whatever. So, but to be
Yeah.
actually in the studio with these people, sitting in the room with these people, talking to these people, even the interviews that I read up in Billboard magazine where they're talking about me and Jay King uh, and the records we gave them for that album. It was kind of surreal. You grow up seeing people on big time TV, and then you're sitting in the room in the studio telling them what to do and telling them how to.
Exactly. How was it? So how was it working with the late David Ruffin and the late Eddie
It was it
Kendricks?
was
Because they
it was
were very, very popular in
it was
Motown. They put Motown on the map.
exactly. It was great. I'll say this. I'll say this. Okay. It
Because
was
when you say David Ruffin, you got to say My
it was
Girl and then
great.
Eddie Kendricks.
It was
Yeah.
great working with Eddie. Eddie, I walked in the studio. I walked
Okay.
in the studio. I got there. He was already there. He was out in the outer studio with his headphones on, kind of
Okay.
humming around with the song. And I walked in, and he
Mm-hmm.
was standing there, and he gave me this beautiful smile. Eddie, when he smiled, man, it was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I said, "How you doing?"
Uh-huh.
I'm Rahni Song. I'm the producer. And he said, "Oh, how you doing?" And he shook my hand. He said, "Man, that's a great song." To hear, shake his hand and have
Mm-hmm.
him tell me that, and I'm getting ready to produce him, was just, oh my God, it was so wonderful.
Because you see these folks on TV, and then now you can meet them face to
Yes,
face, and you'll be like, "Oh my
yes,
gosh, I'm
yes.
nervous. I have to get this right because this is Eddie Kendricks, this is
Yeah.
David Ruffin. They're
Now,
legends."
now
Also,
David was
yeah.
a whole different character.
Oh yeah,
We
David Ruffin. I'm here,
we,
y'all.
we had a meeting about the album actually, and the great Gene McFadden, who was a legend, uh, all the Philly International
Mm-hmm.
records that him and John Whitehead did and wrote together. Gene and I had actually become very good friends, which is a whole other thing that blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm home listening to the radio. I'm in high school and coming up and listening to Gene and John and all these hit records. Now I'm sitting here with him, and this is my boy. He's my partner now. And we were meeting with. It was a hotel. I forgot the name of it, but the record company had rented this whole suite, and there were keyboards everywhere, all kinds of keyboards and things, and they were using it as kind of like a area for everybody to come meet and talk about the album. And so Gene and I were there, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door, and I go answer the door, and it's David, and he looked like
Mm-hmm.
he had probably been awake for about 2 days. His hair, just
Mm-hmm.
like what they showed in the, I don't know if you saw the miniseries about the Temptations.
Unsun.
No, the Temptations,
Unsun.
the actual movie.
Oh, the movie. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
watched that movie so
And
many
so,
times.
so it was pretty
Yeah.
much like that. And uh, he walks
Okay.
in and he kind of pushes me aside in a sense, like, who are you, kind of thing. And so we started talking
Mm-hmm.
about the record, and he wasn't paying me any attention. And Gene McFadden got really upset about that. And Gene McFadden,
Mm.
the great Gene McFadden, looked at David and said, "Well,
I'm gonna look him
no." He
up.
said, "Hey, man, the song we doing, you know, he wrote that song." He said, "Now you
Mm-hmm.
ain't gonna just talk to my partner any kind of way." He stood up for
Mm-hmm.
me, and then
Mm-hmm.
the funny part was when one of the guys who was there at the meeting went and got the Billboard magazine, and I had the number one record in the country that week. They showed it
Okay.
to David, and then all of a sudden, David kind of humbled down.
Mm-hmm.
And what blew me away is after we did the record, they did an interview in Billboard, and David actually shouted me out with me and Jay King, because Jay King, they were the Club Nouveau, they were hot back then too. And he has a but actually Jay has a radio show on every day. Y'all should check that out too. Look him up. Yeah,
Okay. What's the name of the radio
it's Jay
show?
King and something, the King something. Just if you type in Jay King, yeah,
Okay.
you'll see it.
Okay, J
Yeah.
King.
So they did
Okay.
it. They did an interview in Billboard, and he actually mentioned me and Jay King and G McFadden, and he had he had nice things to say about me. So I was like, wow, okay, this puts the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
The great David Ruffin shouted me out. So, and these are legends, man. That's what people don't understand. It's not like just some artist you work with. And I've worked with some artists that were successful, but they weren't legends like that. You know what I'm saying? And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he shouted me out that way
Right.
was
Yeah.
very, very cool. And so,
Mm-hmm.
that was a really big moment for me. And I've had successes with Freddie Jackson and Najee, but I was pretty much around. I was
Yeah.
around during their development and growth, if you know what I'm saying. I worked
Mm-hmm.
on Najee's first record and second record, but the first one was the one that catapulted him to another level. Actually, Charles Elgart and did the other part of the album. I did part of the album, and the second album was great. Had some great producers on there as well. Freddie, he was always surrounded by the records I did with Freddie, remixes. You had Barry Eastman, Paul Lawrence. Uh, there was so many talented producers that were involved um, in that camp, at the time. So, and then it just went on from one thing to the next,
Okay.
to the next, the next project to the next, to the next.
Okay. So how was it working with Anita Baker, Karen Clark Sheard, and I can say Mark Nelson, and also the late Roger
All right.
Troutman. But we
Well,
can start
well,
with
well,
Karen
well,
Clark Sheard.
like I
Yeah.
mentioned, Anita and Karen Clark, they weren't in the room.
Okay. All of every
I
voice.
but
Yep.
I was
Okay.
a big part of working on a very important record that was issued as an
Mm-hmm.
engineer more than a producer,
Okay.
and responsible
Okay.
for the final edits and the final mastering of that record. Uh, on
Okay.
that same album though that Melba did, Lift Every Voice, I produced uh, Howard King, and Howard was the drummer on all those Phyllis Hyman and Stephanie Mills records produced by Mtume. And
Wow. So you met Phyllis Hyman?
no, no, I
Wow.
didn't. I said that they
Wow.
were.
Oh.
I said that Howard King and I produced on, but
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Howard
okay.
was the drummer on all of those legendary
Okay.
records that Reggie Lucas and Mtume did on Phyllis Hyman and on Stephanie Mills. Howard was the studio drummer on those records, and he and I met at Hush Productions, and we became very good friends. And he had an incident where he couldn't finish a record. He had gotten in a car accident, and I came in on that
Mm.
same album with the Lift Every Voice. I came in and finished a song called "Crying in the Night" with Lisa Fisher. With
Okay.
Lisa Fisher, the great Lisa Fisher, had wrote and did most of the backgrounds on that, and I finished that song for Howard. Finished the producing of the record, and it was just phenomenal how it all turned out.
Awesome.
And Mark Nelson, that's another interview.
I interview
That
him.
boy, that
Yeah. Mark
that
Nelson.
man and I, we go
Talented.
back to when he was only 18. That's how long I've been knowing Mark. So I got
Wow.
stories about my little brother, and me and him have a bond that's been tried and true throughout the years, and we're getting ready to do
Awesome.
some amazing things. He's actually written and co-written a few songs with me on this new project that's getting ready to come out. It's gonna shock everybody.
Let me know because I would love to have you guys on the
It's gonna
show
shock. It's
talk
gonna
and talking
shock
about it.
everybody. The song we came
Yeah.
together to do some songs for a legend who's putting this record out. You guys will hear
Okay.
about it very soon. Yeah.
Okay. Keep me in touch.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned somebody else beside Mark. I was trying to.
Um, I mentioned how you met the late Roger
All right, Roger.
Troutman.
Roger was interesting. Okay, I was working. I was
Roger,
working. I
Ohio.
started. I joined this group called Dayton out of Dayton, Ohio. We had a hit song
Mhm.
called "The Sound of Music," and a
Mhm.
few other records that we had out. We did a record with Bootsy. On this particular album, I think I produced like three albums on this group on Dayton. I think three. Yeah, it was three albums I produced on this group. And on one of the albums, we got Roger Troutman to produce one of the songs, and he was right down the street. He lived literally, his studio was right down the street in Dayton from where we
Mhm.
were. And the song was called "Love You Anyway." And he was yeah, Roger
Oh,
was
okay.
something else. So yeah, he we worked on that song with him on that album by Dayton. I forgot which album it was, but you can just type
Mhm.
in "Love You Anyway" by the group Dayton, and you see this. It's a Roger Troutman
Love
song.
you anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he was he was amazing, dude. He was just an amazing guy. And before his death, I was in Phoenix, and we were on the phone talking about old times, about the days that we worked on that record, and we used to visit his studio and things like that in Dayton, and we just had a blast. We talked for a whole hour about the
Mhm.
previous days, you know,
Mhm.
days gone by in a sense. And tragically, when I heard he passed away, it really, and it wasn't long after that. I think it was like 30 days, a month after him and I spoke.
Wow. Yeah. What a
That was,
sad day. Yeah, that was devastating. Yeah. Yep,
but,
yep.
yeah, but
So but that's awesome that you got the opportunity to work with him because Roger,
yeah,
like one of the best producer songwriters, and he
yeah,
just knew that talk
yes,
box is like he made that thing
yes.
talk. It's like it's
And
only one Roger
yeah,
Troutman, so that's
yeah,
good that you was a you got the opportunity to work with the greatest. Yeah,
exactly.
because yeah.
We
So
also had a
yeah.
really good experience talking about Roger. One of my most educational, believe it or not, experiences was working with Bootsy Collins.
Boosie, how you met him? Yeah, Boosie.
Well, how I actually met him and the Bootsy story is too long for this show. These are
Okay.
experiences, these are experiences I had that were really deep, and
Wow.
spiritual connections. The way Bootsy and I came together was just, it was is hair raising. It's like
Mhm.
God put that together, and I really would
Mhm.
love to share that at some point with you. But we worked together. I was kind of like a fixture in a few of his recording sessions,
Mhm.
and he had me come in doing keys and stuff and keyboards and bass lines for him on his records. There's one song in particular he did called "Shinomite." It's really funky,
Mhm.
and he had me come in there with him doing, and I did all the keyboards on the song. And the thing about Boosie, his work ethic, I learned a lot about how you're supposed to work. He didn't
Mhm.
allow, if you weren't on the record, you were not allowed in his sessions. He didn't do the crowds, the entourage, and He didn't do that. That
Private.
he was about handling his business. Even
Mm-hmm.
when he would cut his own drum tracks. Even on Dynamite, that's him playing drums on it. And when he would do these records, he had a pair of jeans, and
Mm-hmm.
you know I worked with him because everybody don't know this secret. Bootsy had a pair of jeans that he carried with him to the studio whenever he had to record drums. And he would change clothes, put on these jeans. And why he wore these jeans? Because the entire knee area was
Mm-hmm.
cut out so he can bend his knees while playing the kick drum and the hi hat. Those are his drummer jeans.
Oh wow.
And it gave him the open knees gave him the ability to really hit the kick drum and the hi hat and all that. And just watching him lay that track down, I was like, what? We're in Cincinnati, and he recorded the drums on that song, and then I added the bass line and all the fancy sound effects, keyboards, and everything. And that was an experience working with him. And actually, even working with George, was George Clinton. It was an interesting
George
experience.
Clinton, the mothership.
So a lot of cool stories, and like I said, I can't even. That's why I decided to write a book
You
on
should.
my
Oh yeah, you wrote a book where everybody can
on
find
my.
it at.
I'm about 8 chapters in. I'm about 8 chapters in.
Okay. Okay.
Um, all my experiences that I had that were just ridiculously amazing. Uh, that a kid from Harvard would have this kind of journey, and the people that I worked with, the people I became friends with, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, it's just George, Bootsy, the Ohio players, Suge on the Ohio players. He used to come around because he was in Dayton, and he used to come over to the studio when we were down in Cincinnati. Because
Mm-hmm.
Sean, the guitar player for Dayton, he was in a group called Sun, Sun.
Mm-hmm.
They were a big funk band as well. They had that big hit, "Flick My Bick" or something like that. But him and Sugarfoot, they came up together. All these guys came up together, and so I
Mm-hmm.
got a chance to really experience seeing these guys. You know what I'm saying? Running into Steve Arrington from Slave at the airport, me and him running in and out. He's leaving, I'm coming. It was just really, really fun. Being a part of that culture and meeting all these people, and then
Awesome.
ending up in New York, where I was ending up back in New York, where I was doing a lot of the bigger projects, and then got heavily into the adult contemporary market after working with Najee, having such success with Najee, opened up the door for me to work with Alex Bouillon, uh, then Marion Meadows, who is to this day, one of my best friends, and we just, joined at the hip, and Andre Ward. Andre and I have been knowing each other for years, and Rob White, who I
Yeah, Rob.
snatched under my wing, and uh, his mother was a big Najee fan, and he was just
Mm-hmm.
so much fun when he and I got together, and we got something pretty seriously planned. We've been trying to do for some years, but it's worth the wait because he's getting ready to explode on a whole different level with his
Rod,
career.
right? Yeah. I'm excited for him. Yeah,
Yeah,
tell me about yeah.
he's a good dude too. He's a genuine
Oh
brother.
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Tell me about the albums that you release, writing for different artists. Which album? I can say Should I Let You Go and also Birth the Fall.
Oh, well, that was on my 2011 record, which
Okay.
uh, it
I
was it
like
was
it too. I
that
really like
album.
your
Actually,
style.
that
Yeah.
album, I wasn't gonna do that. I didn't want to do it, and it was just kind
Oh,
of
you
like an
didn't?
experiment. It was like an experiment for me. Um, at the time, I wasn't in New York, and the
Mm-hmm.
studios where I was located uh, weren't what they should have been. So I just, got some equipment to set up where I was, and my brother and I were talking. He's a drummer, and he drummed for me. He played on Najee's records and things like that. And we were just kind of joking around and saying, "Man, the music out here today is this, is that. It's not what it should be. It's not what it used to be." And so much junk was out on the radio, and I kind of like was joking around. I said, "Man, I bet I could sit right here at home on this little computer and throw a record together, and I still get top five in Billboard." And he started laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of made a gentleman's bet. I said, "All right, if I don't get top five, all right, I'm a schmuck. Okay, I lose the bet. All right."
Mm-hmm.
So I did the record, and I had Bo Huggins. He was in my ear every day. Saying it's like I used to have dreams about this dude telling me his favorite line is, "Where's my music? Where's my music? Where's my music? Where's my music?" He waited for me to send stuff to him. I said, okay. So I played along. I did some stuff, and then I got my goddaughter Chantel Hampton. She did Star of the Story. Believe it or not, Chantel had the flu when she sung that song.
Mm.
Sick when she sung that record. So you can imagine
Wow.
what it would have been if she wasn't sick. She killed.
Mm-hmm.
She was like literally had the flu, and her father, my brother Leroy Hampton, he's no longer with us. But Leroy did the synth solo, killer synth solo on that record. We all just did it remotely. Remote recording became new to me. I know I never did it before.
Mm-hmm.
And he would record this and record the synth. She did the vocals. She did the background harmonies, and then I had my nephew Corey Jarrell.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he sung "Worth the Fall." Chantel did the backgrounds. We all just kind of chipped in and worked from where we were physically located from our different locations. And Eric Leone, he played guitar on Barry's medley. I had Marion Meadows play on 91 North. It was kind of fun having all my friends. Couldn't get in the studio, but we made it. And the record, and also on that record, we had Julian Davis, who you guys need to look out for, the young harmonica player. But I just threw the
Okay.
record out there. And Bo Huggins has always been my biggest supporter anyway. And he was like, "Well, we gonna put it out there, and it's gonna do great." And his brother Don Huggins, and all these guys, Virgil Thompson, all these guys, they were like raving over this record, and I'm like, man, I just put this together. It's not even my best work. And Bo's always been like that. I don't care about that. Sounds good to me. We're putting it out. And it went number
Right.
three. It went top five. It was number three in Billboard. And then it ended
Awesome.
up being in the top 20. Yeah, at the year end, Billboard used to have this year end chart. We were number out of the top 20. We were the number 13 best selling album that year in Billboard. So go figure, go
Awesome.
figure,
Awesome.
right? And so those
Okay.
guys got behind
And,
it and made it
okay.
work. They just made it work.
And tell me about the song "Timeless" featuring Ronnie Song and Julian Davis. Yeah,
Yeah,
tell
well,
me
that's
about
that's the one I
you
had.
and Julian Davis. How you guys
That's the
got
one I had
together.
Marion Meadows play on. He actually he actually took it and
Okay,
flipped it and used
"Timeless."
it on his record too. But he played the
Okay.
soprano, and then Julian Davis I met through Marion. Marion would have Julian play when Marion would locally when he wasn't on the road, he would play at these great local clubs in Phoenix, and he would have
Mm-hmm.
Julian come up and play. So he told me about Julian, and I said, "Well, I have a song that I really wanted to put a harmonica on," and definitely couldn't get in
Mm-hmm.
touch with Toots because he was way over in Germany and he's up in age. He's no longer with us. He's my actually him and Stevie are my favorite harmonica players. But he said
Stevie Wonder.
So
Yeah.
Marion said, "I got this kid, man." And so he comes up to the house, and he looks like this young. He's like this young, like 18, 19-year-old skateboarder. That's what he looks like. Had these jeans and a t-shirt. And I'm saying he could play like that. And the way he was looking, it was like, yeah, yeah, I try to play. He was so humble and so wonderfully, sweet as a kid. And like, I said, okay, I'll give him a shot. But if Marion is bringing him, he must be able to play. Man, this kid sat down and played the end of that song, and it just brought tears to my eyes. It was so sweet. You heard the record. It's his performance is just wonderful on that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Timeless. Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. I'm gonna ask some questions and then that's how I'm gonna end the show.
Okay.
And all right. If you put out okay, if you let me see. Okay, if you put out a single or an album, who are the songwriters, producers you want to be part of your music project?
Wow. Well, songwriters, I would say two of the most amazing songwriters I know, and it's not because they're related to me, but they're just beasts. Is
Mm-hmm.
my youngest son, Max Barjona, and his sister, Chloe. Um, Word wise, lyric wise, they're just, I don't know, they're just out of this world. You're going to be hearing a lot of their lyrics coming from my music coming on these upcoming projects. I would
Okay.
definitely have them, and definitely my man Mark Nelson when it comes to writing.
Oh yeah, Mark Nelson.
Ugh,
Oh yeah, he can write. He can write. He
I'm
wrote.
really,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
really upset how the industry has done that, dude. I
I
mean,
know.
they,
I
they
interview him too.
yeah, it's. I'm telling you, I
They
get,
did.
him and I talk
Yeah.
about, we talk about it all the time, and I say, man, I'm pissed for you because this dude is just a freak of nature when it comes to songwriting. He's and
The
and
music
and,
industry.
and singing too. Don't downplay that voice, man. Woo.
He could
So
sing. He could sing
yeah,
anything.
yeah, and I would have him. And then from a musician standpoint, I got some of the best guys that I've worked with. If I had the ultimate project, I had the budget to do it the way I wanted to do it. I got guys like Pooji Bell on drums, uh, Alex Bouillon, who's a killer keyboard player, very versatile. You know, we just, I'm trying to think. My boy Scott Smith, my childhood friend, who was big time with the P Funk thing, and he's played all over the world. Uh, the list is so extensive. Bill Holloman, who I came up with years ago, who is now he's been out with Nile Rodgers and Chic, and he just got through working with Bruce Springsteen on Bruce Springsteen's album, new project. Uh, it's just, I mean, I mean, my boy Chip, uh, uh, the Gaines brothers. I mean, golly, man, it's just I would literally have to like pack the room with all these guys and do some stuff live, maybe overdubs or whatever. But there's just so many of my guys. My childhood friend Eddie Brathwaite. Uh, oh my goodness, it's just man. I don't want to get in trouble because somebody say, man, you didn't mention me. But so I have a Rolodex of musicians that's just
Hmm.
ridiculous. And I definitely would bring in the Powell boys, Kevin Powell and Billy and Doobie and those guys. Tim Johnson. I actually had Tim come and play on Andre Ward's record. I don't know if you heard the song Uptown
I haven't
on
heard
Andre
it yet. Yet.
Africa
Where can
Rising
you
album.
find?
It's on the
Where can
Africa
you find the song?
it's on the
Okay,
Africa Rising album by Andre Ward.
it's on all. It's on all platforms.
Yeah, it's called
Okay,
Uptown by Andre Ward, and I got Tim
Uptown. I'm
Johnson
gonna
on
look it up.
He's playing piano, the piano solo on that, and
Okay.
Eric Leone is playing the guitar solo on that. And I mean, and one guy I haven't worked with, we met years ago, but I got to snatch him on my next project. Jonathan DeBose. I don't know if you know him, but he was Harry Connick's music director on Harry Connick's TV show. He's a Connecticut
Mm-hmm.
boy too. He's a Connecticut boy too. And Patrick Williams, Pat
Okay.
Williams, Randy Boss, who played with Brass and Steel back in the days of All Platinum Records. It's just, oh God, it's
It's gonna be an awesome
this
music
this year.
project. I can't
This year I
wait.
got projects that I'll be able to do all that and bring all these guys together.
I can't wait. Yeah, you got some
They're
good
they're
people on
like
your
they're
team.
like the what Quincy had, those guys like Jerry Hay, the Johnson brothers,
Mm-hmm.
Steve Lukather,
Mm-hmm.
Jr. the drummer who played on all of Michael Jackson stuff. Who by which I have his phone
Mm-hmm.
number. The great Marty Walsh, guitar player, made the introduction, and I'll have Quincy's drummer on some of my stuff this year too. Jr. is awesome.
Awesome.
Jr. is just well.
Okay. What's the name of the album?
I oh,
Have you
I
picked a
don't even
name
get
yet?
that far. I don't think about stuff like that. I just make the album and then
Okay. Just do
let
the
the album
album.
speak. Let
Okay.
the music speak and let the experience speak. I think the title comes from
Mm-hmm. You have to feel the vibe
yeah, it's not
first.
just the music, it's the experience of networking with all these wonderful players and
Mm-hmm.
singers, like Audrey Wheeler. I don't know if you know who she is. Good friend of mine. She's married to Will Downing, but she is an awesome vocalist. She's had a few albums,
Okay.
and she's out with Chaka Khan right now. And Audrey Wheeler,
Oh, okay.
Janice Dempsey, um, we very close friends. These people and I got so much history. And Janice was the one that sung the song "So Hard to Let Go" on Najee's second album. And then I
Mm-hmm.
met Audrey because Najee was on tour and he came to Harvard and they did that song, but he had Audrey Wheeler do it. And that's the first day I met Audrey Wheeler. So this a weird histories here of many years and different vocalists, uh, of people that we just know and have so much love and respect for. So I just want to kind of get all that love and respect and put it in the studio for a month or two. you know, I think that's going to be pretty exciting to do that.
Okay.
Mm.
So, who will you say that gives you some of the best business advice? And yeah,
Who gives me the best business?
yeah, who will you?
Well,
Yeah, who will you say that gives you some of the best business advice?
business advice overall, not just
Mm-hmm.
entertainment, but business.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my brother Jeff Shyman from
Okay.
Columbus, Ohio. He's just a
Mm-hmm.
diehard, straight to the point. You should do this. You should do that. No, 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 no. You don't want to do that. You want to do this. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
guy. And he's been a great voice and a great friend. And I think when it comes to real
Mm-hmm.
solid business advice, he's been the guy in my ear. He's been the guy in my ear for many
Awesome.
years now. Hmm.
Okay. So, if a young person came up to you and say, um, I want to be a music producer, songwriter. What kind of words of wisdom you would tell them why it's important to have good people around them, why they should manage their money, and why they should read contracts very
Hmm.
carefully?
Well, that's a deep dive there, and a lot of people are too starstruck over, oh, I got a record, oh, I got this, or I'm getting ready to write a song for this famous person, or I'm getting ready to produce this famous person, or I'm getting ready to write. They get so excited about the thrill of the creative experience until they don't want to take
Mm-hmm.
the time to learn the business side. And the problem
Mm-hmm.
I've had with a lot of young artists is that they don't listen. They don't listen.
That's true.
And I
Yeah, I
don't
have
have
to say
time.
that's
I don't
true.
I don't have time to try to teach anybody. I have a big heart, and all these people that know me, some people may be watching. I give 100% when it comes to helping people. people. I always try to help, to the point where people
Mhm.
don't appreciate it, and sometimes it's thrown back in your face if certain things don't happen. They never see the spirit
Mhm.
of the good that you're trying to do for them. So I personally have stopped helping. I'll be honest with you, uh, especially this generation, because they don't listen. So all that
Mhm.
wisdom I have poured into my son and my daughter, who are writers, because they listen to
Mhm.
their father, and now they're
Mhm.
going to be going into levels in this industry that I couldn't go when I was their age. They're getting ready to go to another level because they take everything I tell them. They're listening. They're listening.
Mhm.
And not to say I wouldn't help a young person. There's a young man I'm helping now. One of our singers, one of our dear singers, in one of my groups. Her son reached out to me, and
What's his
he's
name?
so grateful. I don't want to say over the interview right now his name.
Oh, okay, that's
Right,
okay.
not
That's
right now.
okay. I under
But
I understand. I
he
understand.
he's just a gem of it. He's one of these young people
Mhm.
who hasn't been tainted by this arrogant attitude, and I don't listen to nobody tell me nothing. He's like a sponge. He just
Mhm.
wants to learn. Being
Mhm.
an educator as well as a music producer, I love when I talk to young people who are eager to learn. When I met with the young people up at UConn, when I went up there to do a couple of lectures, they were just eating the information up, and I love that. I love when people want to learn. But if you don't want to
Mhm.
listen, I don't have time to talk. I don't have, my time. My time
Mhm.
And my time is very expensive, and I've been criticized for that. I got people who are probably watching now who, oh, don't hire him because he charges too much money. Well, you doggone right. You got a resume.
It's
You got a
business.
resume like I do, and still
Yeah.
relevant, and still selling high numbers, and still making gold records. And it after all these years, and when people with radio see my name on the back of a record, they'll play it even if they don't know you as an artist. Yeah, you're gonna pay me.
Mhm.
And plus, what I do, if I was joking with my kids, I said I'm gonna start making people sign contracts where they have to sit with me every hour and watch what I do,
Mhm.
because it's not as
Mhm.
easy as people think.
Oh, it's not easy. It's hard
It's serious
working in the
work,
music
serious
industry.
intense work to have a craft
Mhm.
when you as a real producer, and you're an engineer. Sometimes you work with great engineers, sometimes the budgets don't allow for you to bring in engineers, so you got to know what you're doing. Fortunately, I have a lot of
Mhm.
experience engineering records as well. I've had some great
Mhm.
people to watch. I had some great people to watch, and I learned growing as a producer how to learn how to be a decent engineer. My friend Roy Shamir, he used to be at Unique Recording. He was a no nonsense kind of guy. Uh, when I used to work with him, watching guys like that work, and um, Bob Rosa, he mixed some of my records. I was in a couple of sessions with Tom Lord Algie. These are these are high end dudes, and I learned from the best. So fortunately, if I over the course of my career, when I could not get an engineer, if it was a budget that you know a project that I had to take because I knew somebody or I knew the person and I wanted to help them and I couldn't bring in my engineer, I had to do it all. But I still require folks to stick
Mhm.
around and see what goes into this, because then they understand when they get the invoice why it is what it is.
Mhm. And the reason why I ask those questions to different people because I believe it's so important to have good people around you. It's so important to learn how to manage your money and read contracts very carefully. Let a lawyer
Yeah,
see it
yeah, yeah.
because I watch so many
Hmm,
documentaries
hmm,
and people just sign that
hmm,
$1 million
hmm, hmm.
contract and they find out that contract wasn't
Yeah,
legit and it's just they
Well,
touring all over the world,
well, the sad
and
part,
they're not making no money.
the sad part is you got to even be careful who you pick as a lawyer.
Yeah, you gotta
You
be
can't. Oh, I
careful.
got a lawyer, and you got some people. So,
You have to make sure he's a legit lawyer, because some of these lawyers, they be pretending they're lawyers and they're not.
girl, I've done work with people
It's a dirty
that I've
game. It's a dirty. I watch.
contracts to people, and their lawyer ended up being a real estate lawyer, or their lawyer
Oh
was a
Lord.
was a
Hmm.
a patent lawyer, but they weren't an entertainment lawyer. And what my lawyer said, your lawyer is not an
Uh,
entertainment lawyer, and that's what.
and I know you saw so many contracts. I know you was like, this contract is not what. This is garbage. I'm telling you. I watch so many stories, and I'll be like, when people's gonna finally wake up and say, we need to do our homework. You want to be broke
Right,
forever? You know,
exactly,
it's like
exactly.
all that hard work, you and your
Mhm.
producers, all that hard work, you travel over the world, your concerts sold out, and then you look at that check and you be like, my money is short. Yeah, because you didn't do your
Yeah,
homework.
that's right.
You wasn't signed the right
That's right.
contracts. And then they want it, and sometimes the artists want to blame the
Yep,
producers,
that's what they
and
do.
producers be
That's what
like,
they do. I got a
they
young
want to blame
girl.
some of the
I got a young
producers.
girl now who the record company gave. I was just trying to help and brought her to this record company, and
And sometimes it's not your
they
fault.
wanted her, and so it's not my record company. They sent her the contract. It was her
Right.
job to get an attorney to
Mm-hmm.
look it over. I didn't see the contract. I'm just a producer who made an introduction, and she got the
Right.
contract, and her lawyer didn't like the contract, and instead of them being professional and calling the legal department at the record label, and that's why they call it negotiation, and having
Mm-hmm.
discussion, you know, you know, he took the contract, and the contract wasn't that bad. There were some things in it that I would have changed too, but that's why you
Mm-hmm.
negotiate. But she turns around and blames me
Mm-hmm.
for it,
Wow.
and blames me
And it
for
wasn't
the
your
con. That's
fault.
not my record. I'm not. I'm just the guy. If you do the deal, then
They hire
I'll be
you.
producing it, and that's
Yeah.
it. But that's what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
That's what happens, man. That's why I don't like working. That's why now I just
Yeah.
don't even be bothered. People are like, yeah, well, can
I
you
don't
help
blame
me? Can
you.
you help me? No,
And
I
then they
gotta
don't
get
want
to
to
know you, and I
listen.
already got people that have been with me for years that need the break, that need to get their shot, and I'm focused. I'm just focusing
Exactly.
on people like Rob White and Eric Leone, you know, uh, right now. Those are my guys. Julian, I'm trying to help them.
Okay. Tell me about Kay and John.
Yeah, I
Tell
just
me
did a.
about
He
Kay and
had a record
John. I
out. He had a
never.
record out, and
Yeah, I have to
they
look him
wanted to
up.
do a whole new
Yeah.
twist on the record that he did on Andre Ward's record, and
Okay. Okay.
"Casualty of Love," I think is the name of the song. And so they wanted me to do a whole new
Okay.
track and redo of the song, and that's how we ended up working together on the Andre Ward record. Yeah, but
Okay.
he had that big hit. He was the one that had
Okay.
that big hit on the ocean, I believe it was. That was huge.
Oh, I love that song, The Ocean. Oh,
Rob White covered it.
yeah.
We covered it on Rob White.
You guys did an awesome job. You guys award. You guys deserve. I love that
Yeah,
song. I really
thank
creating
you,
that
thank you,
song together.
thank you.
Yeah. So, what is the name of the resources everybody can find you at?
Just my website, RahniSong.com, and my Facebook page, which will be taken down soon because it's going to be redone. I have a team of people that will be handling social media now. I'm
Okay.
done with the personal, individual Facebook thing because of what's happening this year with me and my
Okay.
career. My team are saying
Okay.
time for you to just do what you do and let us handle this kind of stuff. But Facebook, I'm there for
Okay.
right the moment for another 2 months. And my website, RahniSong.com, and those are
Okay.
the best to find out
Okay.
see what I'm doing. And
Okay.
any of the artists I work with, their websites, their social media, you can always check with them too. But we got a lot of exciting things coming up. We even have a motion picture, two motion pictures.
Awesome.
We got two motion pictures that my company is producing. So that's going to be all out there pretty soon as well. I can't talk about it right now, but big film projects that we're doing. So we're getting ready to do some pretty big
Okay.
stuff.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you for telling your story. So
Hmm.
on my YouTube podcast channel, Facebook, and I can't wait. And you should do a
Yeah, yeah,
documentary because
yeah.
you
I'll
wrote
keep you
songs
posted.
for
I'll
all
keep you posted.
incredible artists.
I'll keep you posted.
Yes, you should do a
That's gonna be good.
documentary. And that's awesome that you still, yeah, and that's awesome that you still can have a private life and all the people that you wrote
Yeah.
for, and they're very well known. And the ones who was well known, they're not here anymore. But
Well,
that's awesome that you can have a private life because some people
no.
can't do that, you know. But that's
Well, I
awesome
think
that you, yeah,
having a
you
private
really
life is a
deserve,
choice. You got to make it. What do you love? You love the work, or do you love the attention? I
right,
don't really need the attention like that. I just want people to. The only attention I want people
right,
to show me
right.
is go buy the product and
Exactly. You want people to,
let
you
me
want their
know
dreams
how
to
it
come
works,
true. Yeah.
and let me know if I
Mm-hmm.
can encourage you and push you and encourage you in some kind of way that you can do the same thing because I'm a guy that this wasn't
Mm-hmm.
supposed to happen for, and
Right. Because
I like to work with people.
yeah. Yeah, the reason why I said that, yeah, I can
Mhm.
tell. But the reason why the reason why I said that because you wrote songs for people that you
Mhm.
see on
Mhm.
TV, and it's like, wow, that's, I said he deserved. I said, why you haven't been
Oh,
honored? I mean, it's like wrote it.
that's
Yeah,
why
I
you
said
can.
Soul Train, Urban
Yeah,
One
yeah.
Honors, and NACP. I mean, you guys should honor
Oh,
him, you know?
I've done some
I
monumental
mean,
music, but I don't. Thank God.
yeah,
Thank
you should get honored.
Thank
You
God
deserve your
I don't do
flowers.
it for that. I do it because I love what I do, and I let God. I let I let
It's your
I let
calling.
God.
God call you
I
to
let
do
God take
this.
care of that
Mhm.
other stuff. Awards. I do have two people
Exactly.
that I met recently. Very amazing, powerful women, black women. I have to say that have
Mhm.
kind of opened some portals for me uh, to be able to start
Mhm.
having that kind of respect and recognition. And I don't want to say who they are and what positions they hold, but all of that will be revealed
Mhm.
later. But God is opening up a lot of doors for that type of thing, and just because I've stayed diligent, you know. But I'm gonna really get this book done so people can understand what my journey was. I'm talking from Frank Sinatra to the great Benny King. Quincy Jones, my
Wow.
time with him. I mean, my stories are just, the book is chock full of my 2 hour hangout with James Brown. And um,
Wow, James
I
Brown.
have so many
Wow.
wonderful stories. So that's coming. I
Mhm.
do have a book for those who have been on Facebook who have seen me do the daily espresso page of these like daily affirmations and
Mhm.
daily uh, wisdom. Uh, there is a book that's finally going to be released within the next 2 months, and the music.
Okay.
There's a playlist that goes with the book too. So we'll send all that over to you so you can help us promote that as well. I
You
said
said
we'll
what
send
again?
you when the book is released, Daily Espresso. Make sure that you get that and get the music. There's a music playlist that'll be available on all one.
Out. Yeah, keep me in touch. I can, yeah, and we can talk
Yeah,
about it on my show
and
too.
I'll
You
make
can
sure
tell
you get a copy of
everybody
the book. Get a
about your
copy of
new
the book so
book.
then when we talk.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And also bring Mark
Yeah, that's my
Nelson with
boy.
you because you guys gonna do some projects
We got some
together.
stuff. Me and him got
Yeah.
we got some
I'm so
stuff brewing. Me
excited.
and Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah, keep me posted because I love announcing what's going I love announcing like
Hmm. Hmm.
concerts, tour dates, or
Hmm.
a book, if somebody send me something, like if you
Hmm.
send me that book, I'm going to talk about it on my show. I said to everybody, you can
Yep.
buy this book at this online. You can buy online, and I'll tell them the
Yep.
name of it. Yeah. I was so honored to have you
Finally,
on my show,
finally.
and yes,
Yes,
yeah, we made it
yes, it's been a
happen.
minute. So
Yeah, and make sure you guys download all his songs on all platforms, and make sure y'all follow him on social media, and
mm,
keep yeah.
keep hope
So
alive.
yeah, I was honored to have you on the
It's an
show.
honor to be here
Yeah.
with you. You're a great person, and I wish you the best. And I hope this one day the Imani Dillard show is a syndicated phenomenon around the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. It's not easy, but I
Yeah,
can do it.
thank you.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, it's not
And you
easy, but I
will.
can do
You
the
will
work.
do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and Rahni Song will be
yes,
back soon. Yeah, he's going to talk about a different
yes,
topic.
yes. And I'll be
Yeah,
much more
all
rested.
right.
Haven't had a lot of sleep lately,
Oh,
but
you're
yeah.
okay.
But I look forward to it. I appreciate
No,
it.
you're okay. You're okay.
I look forward to
You're
seeing you.
okay. Yeah. All right. I will talk to you later. Have a good weekend, and it was an honor to have you on my
Likewise.
show. Yes.
You
All
too.
right. Have a good night.